Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm super excited to be showing you how to make dark techno like Len Faki. As usual, you get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets and all that kind of stuff in this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available for you. And yeah, let's get started. So, this loop you heard in the intro, we're at 125 beats per minute. And the first sound we have here is the kick, which sounds like this. So what this is it's a rumble kick, and these kind of kicks are a little bit different from sort of like other styles of techno that I've talked about on here. You know, like with some of the other stuff I've made, like the videos I've made on artists like Umek, I still don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, or Joyhauser, or like, you know, any of those kind of artists where, or like Enrico San Giuliano, like that kind of techno where it's just like really, really big and just supposed to sound as massive as possible and all of that. This is a little bit different. This kick is meant to still hit really hard. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it still has to hit hard. It can't just be like a clean kick into the rumble. But it's a little bit more like, I don't know. It just doesn't have that same kind of like really extremely massive. Like, yeah, I think you kind of get what I mean in terms of techno. Like I said, it's like a really, really hard hitting rumble kick still. It's not in any way needing to be like, you know, thinner or anything like that. You still want it to be as hard or as fat as one of those kind of kicks. It's just not so like just extreme, you know. It's a little bit more laid back, but you can hear also not only just like with the type of the sound, but also like the way that we mix everything else around the kick. You can hear everything here is maybe a little bit quieter than it would be in like one of those other kind of techno tracks like I'm talking about, where you have a bigger kick that can like really, really punch through the mix. So yeah, for this one, what I've got here is I have this kick sample. So sort of like a 909 style kick. These are the type of kicks you want to use for the style, like, you know, like a really nice kind of fat 909 or an 808 or something like this. Just something that's got that really nice kind of warm punch to it. You can see I have this in a simpler, and then we have a little bit of a saturator. Here's without that. And then with it, so you can see that's one of those things, it's subtle, but it's making like the kick hit a lot harder. And yeah, after that we have this audio effect track, and what this is this is the rumble. You can hear when I turn it off. And then when I turn it on, so what we have here is we have two chains. We got a dry chain and a wet chain. And on the wet chain, the first thing we have is a reverb. So I'll take everything off and just show you. So you would probably imagine that to sound something like this. And yeah, so there's the reverb. Then we have that going into this amp, which you can hear. Not only is it making it mono, obviously, but also, if you pay attention to the low end, you can hear it makes the low end a lot more like rumbly and kind of focused. And then after that, we have that going into a low pass. And there you go. Then you have just a rumble. And then I have a few effects after that as well. I have this EQ8, which is just cutting around 100 hertz because that's really where the kick is hitting, and then boosting the low end. And then I also have a compressor side chaining it to the dry kick, so it doesn't get in the way. And yeah, so it's a pretty standard sort of rumble. After that, we have a few more effects. The first thing I have here is this EQ8, and I'll show you the other one as well. So I'll show you, here's without either of these. And then with them. So these may seem a bit odd having like two doing the same thing, but they're really important. Like this EQing, you really need this to get the techno kick to sound right, because you're basically trying to sort of like finesse this reverb into something that is very attainable, but it's very different from like what just regular reverb and like distorted reverb and like all that kind of stuff is gonna sound. So in order to get it there, you gotta do a few more things to really like shape it. So again, I'll show you, like here's without the EQ8. And then width, so it's really important. So the main thing these are doing, as you can see, I have them both sort of cutting out these sort of low mid-range frequencies, just kind of cleaning it up, you know, making a bit more room, making it not so messy. And then on this one, I also have a boost here, which adds to the punch, and then I have a low-end boost as well to thicken it up a bit. And then I also have a drum bus on here, so that's also fattening it up. Here's without this. And then with it, you can hear this is really good for kind of gluing the rumble together with the kick. It's like, you don't want them to just sound like two separate things. You want it to sound like one kick, right? So this just kind of helps to glue those together. And that is it for the kick. The next thing we have here is this little operator percussion kind of thing, which sounds like this. So I'll show you the MIDI on this one. It's just playing F. That's the key we're in, is F minor. You can see it's playing this like really syncopated thing, and then in the end it's got that little so you can hear this is just kind of adding some groove to it. Like if I turn this off, this feels kind of like the outro, you know? It feels a little bit too slow. This is really adding a lot of intensity to that groove. So for the sound on this one, I made it using operator. What it is we have 3 sine waves here doing some FM. Pretty simple stuff. You can see I've got them at different octaves. And I've got like this super plucky envelope on all 3 of them. And yeah, and then those are going into a low pass, which you can hear just makes it a little bit more percussive because it kind of dials off some of that tail. After that, I have this resonator, so here's without that. And then with it, you can hear this is really important for the sound. It really brings it to life and just gives it more of like a kind of like metallic texture to it, you know? It makes it feel more like percussion. After that, we have this echo. Here is without that. And then with it. So you can hear this is pretty important as well. It helps to add some space in between the notes so it's not just like that, you know? It kind of fills in the rhythm a little bit more. So then after that, I have that going into a low pass filter. And with this, I've got the frequency set there, and then I have the LFO on there. So it's just kind of slowly moving it throughout the track. You know, it helps to give us some movement and make things not just like stay in the same place. Doing stuff like this, like having this moving with this filter, is what really can make a difference in terms of like making your track sound more professional, because it's subconscious. It's like you're not necessarily hearing, like the average listener at least, isn't necessarily hearing it and thinking like, oh, okay, like all this stuff is moving. It's just you're hearing it and you're kind of feeling that, you know, and it's making the overall experience of listening to the song that much better. After that, we have this drum bus just kind of fattening it up. There's without versus with that. And then I have an EQ8 cutting out the low end, and that is it for the operator percussion. The next thing we have here is this hi-hat, which sounds like this. This is pretty simple. It's just like this sort of nice, like drum machine style hi-hat. Maybe like an 808 or a 606 or something like that. And then I have some effects on there. So the first thing I have is a bit of reverb. Here's without it. And then with it, this is something I've noticed Len Faki and a lot of other people in techno doing. It helps to kind of add some space to your hi-hats, and it helps to fill out the track as well, because you don't have a lot of stuff happening in the hi-hat. Like if I turn off the hi-hats, you know, it's very like low, mid-range, and low-end bass. So, you know, adding reverb to these hi-hats really helps to fill out the hi-end. By adding just a little bit more sound, you know, it helps to kind of maximize the efficiency of the sounds and allow you to use less things to get more sound. After that, we have the saturator and this drum bus. These are just fattening it up. Here's without those. And then one by one, there you go. So, yeah, you can hear it just really helps to fatten it up and kind of give it some texture as well and make it not just like a dry hi-hat. And then the last thing we have on there is just an EQ8 cutting at the low end. And that is it for the first hi-hat. The next thing we have here is the ride, which is 2 layers, and it sounds like this. So what I've done here is basically I have this open hi-hat, and then I have a ride cymbal. And this is the style of ride you would hear in a lot of techno like this. However, you can hear the hi-hat being layered in there. It's kind of filling it out. The thing with these rides is once you get them like high pass like this, they kind of just like are like this bright like wash of sound over top of everything, right? Like it's not really like that hard hitting. And so in order to get it to really stand out in the track, I added in this hi-hat. And then so you're hearing that at the same time, and it is pretty like noticeable, especially if you're familiar with both of these sounds. But it just kind of adds a little bit more of that like to it, you know? So So yeah, definitely a good technique for this style of techno. And then for what I've got going on here, as you can see, I have them in a group, and I have a few effects on the group. So here's with no group processing. And then with it. So you can hear it. These things really bring it to life. So the first thing we have here is a chorus. Here's without it. And then with it, you can hear this helps to kind of spread the sound out a little bit more. You know, it's making it a bit wider, giving it a bit bigger, like, sort of stereo image here. And yeah, after that, I have an echo. Here's without it. And then with it, this helps to kind of fill in the rhythm a little more. It's kind of like a similar principle to the reverb on that hi-hat that I showed you. After that, I just have a bit of drum bus to fatten them up. And then I have this EQ8 where I'm just boosting the high end a little bit. And that is it for the ride. So then the next thing that we have here, and the last thing, is these chord stabs, which sound like this. So these are both pretty simple. They're both playing F minor chords. You can see F minor there, F minor there. And what we have here is we have kind of like two different styles of stabs. So we have this one, which is a little bit like deeper and kind of more chill. And then this one, which is more in your face, and it also has like a lot more automation. So this is kind of the technique here, is to have the two different ones playing off of each other, you know, like a bit of call and response. It really makes it a bit more interesting. You can hear, like, even if I just turn off that second one, which is kind of more in the background, like, even without that, the groove just feels a little empty. So it helps to have the two different ones. So for the first one, for the sound, like I said, I'm using analog. What we have here is we have one saw wave going into a bandpass filter. The bandpass has a bit of an envelope on it. I've got that frequency of the filter just constantly moving. So really similar to the little operator percussion where I had that filter moving, you know, just gives it some movement. It's kind of more, I mean, obviously this one's a lot more noticeable, but because it's more in your face. But again, it's just kind of like subconsciously telling the listener, like, this sound is changing and evolving and morphing. And yeah, that is it for the sound. After that, I have a bit of chorus. There's without that versus with it. You can hear it gives it a bit of space. After that, we have this echo doing eighth notes and some reverb set like that. So those are also adding space. The chorus is more like width and like dimension, and the echo and reverb are more like sort of spacey effects, if that makes any sense. Like really adding stuff to the space of the sound. After that, I have a saturator and a drum bus. Here's without those. And then with one. And then both. So you can hear these are important, you know, these really taken away from just the like dry, sort of dull synth sound, like just coming straight out of the synth. And the last thing I have on there is just an EQ8 cutting out the line. And that is it for the first chord stab. The next thing we have here is the second chord stab, which sounds like this. And so this one is made very similar, in a very similar way. Actually, you can see we have a square wave here, and then I have that going into a bandpass as well, but the bandpass is a little bit more dialed back. Again, this one's meant to be more chill, while the other one's kind of like jumping all over the place. And then the only other things that I have on this one are just a bit of unison inside of the synth, as well as a bit of vibrato. Here's without those. And then with them. So you can hear it's subtle, but it just adds a bit more character and, no pun intended, but vibe to the sound. After that, we have a bit of chorus. Here's without that. And then with it, very similar to the first chord stab, just adding a bit more width and stereo dimension to the sound. Then we have a bit of echo and a bit of reverb. So you can hear those. You can also hear a car alarm in the background. And then after that, I have this drum bus just to kind of fatten it up. You can hear the difference there. It's quite substantial. And the last thing we have on there is just an EQ8 cutting out the line. And that is it for the chord stabs. And that is also going to be it for this one, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Let me know what you want to see next. Once again, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets from this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because they are available right now as I'm speaking. You can go click that link and go get them. If you've been thinking about being a patron on my Patreon, definitely check that out as well if you want all the samples from my videos. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.